Hello, everyone. So today I want to talk about a few points on leadership. Now I got 3 points for leadership that are indicative of a bad leader, and I have a couple points that are indicative of a good leader. Now, that which is opposite of the bad points, which are in blue, are basically that of a good leader. Now, the first one I want to go over is a bad leader can't micromanage or create unity. Now, a good leader knows how to organize a team, knows how to make them fit together, knows how to basically put them in a position where they can do their job. But a bad leader doesn't know how a team should operate, doesn't know how a group of people should operate, and can't really pull it together. And when that happens, a leader who can't micromanage, can't make a team work well, can't prioritize goals, can't get people to cooperate in a way that makes their tasks fluid. Uh, Basically can't get a job done, whatever that job is. Whether you're president, whether you're the manager of office, or whether you're managing a factory or even a group within the factory performing a specific job, even a football team, for instance, also. And it all comes down to micromanaging as far as the first point goes, making sure everybody is linking up in the chain of events in the proper fashion. Now, uh, another point that I want to go over is a bad leader doesn't listen to informed advice. Now, people who have very big egos, it's hard for them to accept the fact that they don't know everything, that they don't know the specifics of a job. Like if you're running a factory and somebody is very proficient at creating basically holes in guns, creating barrels, and you have to manage all these people, but you don't really know about barrel creation. You don't know about rifling. You have to basically put it up to a single individual to tell you, okay, this is how we can do it. This is how long it'll take. This is how many people I will need, and this is what materials we will need. If you don't, if you don't accept somebody's advice in that matter, then you'll never be able to uh, basically create the rifling at the in the right way and with the right materials, because somebody who's an expert at that, expert at boring, uh, will be able to tell you what needs to be done. And if you don't know what needs to be done outside of that, because your ego is too big to let that person decide, let that person tell you what needs to happen, then your project won't get completed. You won't be able producing. You won't be producing guns. Now, another point, the last point in what a bad leader is like, is a bad leader doesn't know how to reserve full force. Now, a bad leader will commit all force when even there's a little bit of threat, or commit all force when there's a problem. For instance, a president. A president will commit like the full amount of threat or the full amount of military force to a problem that could have been handled diplomatically. Um, if another country threatens your stability, threatens your safety, you can handle it diplomatically and say, okay, we will respond if they provoke us by making any military action, but we'll dismiss any notion that they're going to do it without them actually taking any action. We're not going to fight back before an attack has been pressed or before there's evidence of attack being pressed. And if you're part of a team in an office, if you're the manager of a team in an office, and you have employees that aren't performing their duty, that aren't living up to what their job requirements are, and you say, okay, I will fire you if you don't do this, instead of just saying, okay, you're not doing your job, eventually this is going to lead to you either being demoted or having your payment reduced in some way, either yearly or monthly, whatever, or even for a few months. If you go full force with it and say, okay, you're going to be fired if you don't do this, that isn't always the right strategy if you're a manager in an office. You have to build up to that, and it's the right strategy if the rebellion in the office, if the problems in the office are very big and nobody's doing their work, you use full force, but you don't have to use that initially, and that's very important to keep in mind when you're a leader of some sort. Now, there's 2 points I want to go over as far as a good leader. A good leader doesn't have knee-jerk reactions. A good leader doesn't respond immediately. It doesn't respond based on purely what somebody else does in a impulsive way. Like if somebody throws a punch at you, if we're going to use a basic example, and then you throw a punch back at the same time, you're still going to get hit. But if somebody throws a punch and you block it, then you're not going to get hit, and you can figure out how you're going to punch back. Now, this can be an analogy as well. If one country says, okay, we're going to cut off your trade as far as tires go, you're not going to be able to ship tires from any of your factories, any of the corporations that ship tires to us. We're going to cut off that. We're going to cut off that trade. You don't respond instantly by saying, okay, well, we're going to cut off all trade between our countries because you stopped accepting our tires. That's a knee-jerk reaction. You go from the level of what happens not only higher, but just purely in response to their ban on importing your tires. And a knee-jerk reaction happens immediately, and it happens ridiculously. And it's very important to sit back and decide what's going to happen and not just have an impulsive reaction. Now, the last point of a good leader that I want to go over is a good leader puts their people's success before their own. Now, a lot of leaders throughout history have desired fame and glory and power beyond what their people needed, beyond any concern for their people, in fact. Napoleon seemed to have desired military victories and so-called liberation of states that were under monarchy, to the extent that he didn't really care if his people were bogged down in a war where they were sacrificing their husbands, sons, and fathers. And he didn't really care if his people could sustain a war with basically all the monarchies in Europe. He just wanted to win. And, this can be brought down to a smaller level where if you're a manager in a job, and you simply want to get promoted, you simply want to experience a better life, regardless of how your office or your employees are doing, and you just decide to, okay, I'm just going to push for my promotion, so I'm going to treat everybody like shit. I'm not going to help them out. I'm just going to make sure they have the maximum output of work, so I can achieve what I want to achieve in my work career. And that is basically an example of somebody not caring about the people that are under them and just caring about their own interests. But these have been several, not a few, but 5 points about good and bad leaders, and the opposite is true of each of these points for what a good leader and a bad leader is. But thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've learned something. And feel free to comment and like. Thank you.